back, everyone. It is Sunday sit-down time. We got the Columbia Tribune's Calum McAndrew joining us. Calum, we're in the thick of fall camp right now. How are you holding up? We're, what, 2 weeks in now?
I'm still standing,
Right.
so that's the good news.
Well, we were one of a couple, really just a few media members who got to watch a close scrimmage yesterday with the Tigers. Really, I felt like we got a lot of insight from that yesterday.
Sure.
What were some of your biggest takeaways from that scrimmage?
Biggest takeaways, I think I'm impressed with the depth on the defense. We saw a few of their main players, their key players held out just as an abundance of caution. I was impressed with how deep some of those position rooms go at defensive end and at linebacker. I think that was really, really impressive. I was impressed with the way they utilized the two quarterbacks in that competition. I think we aren't being led on. This is a legitimate competition between these two players, Sam Horn and Bo Perbula. So I was impressed with the way that they ran the offense, given both of their limitations and strengths. And I was really, overall, just impressed with actually the intensity of it as well. I think this looks like it could be a pretty good football team, and it was nice to get a couple hours of watching them before we get into the real deal.
Right. Well, we've been talking to Drinkwitz this whole camp, and he said how dead even the quarterbacks were.
Yeah,
And it's like you mentioned, it's nice to know that is like really the case when you watch these practices. What were your biggest takeaways maybe from each quarterback on kind of what you saw from them? Yeah.
I mean, just to touch on what you were saying there about it being a legitimate quarterback, you know, you never know when a coach is maybe leading you on, saying one thing in front of the media and saying another thing behind closed doors. This is a legitimate quarterback competition. Those two, Bo Perbula, I was really impressed with his handle and grasp of the offense, given his limitations. Obviously, the major question around him has been, can he throw? Can Bo throw? And I was really impressed with the way that they use his mobility. I was impressed with the way that he really had a good grasp of the short passing game, understanding what he could do, working those short routes. It's very clear that he doesn't have the deep ball to the level that you maybe would see from Sam Horn, but I think they could really build a natural bridge from Brady Cook to Bo Perbula, very similar stylistically to me. Sam Horn, the arm's real. The arms, he is a very good passer, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by how mobile he can be when called upon. There was one play that really stood out where he was forced out of the pocket. He had to scramble right. He had to direct traffic a little bit, you know, 4th and goal. And he picked out this pass to Marquise Johnson in the back right corner of the end zone on the move. Johnson went up. It was the only place he could get it, up high point he done. And it was just a really impressive play because Sam Horn has been billed as the guy that's not quite as mobile, and he was able to put together this play when he was forced to use his legs a little bit. So I was impressed with how they handled their limitations. I was impressed with how they had a grasp of what it is Turby Moore is asking them to do.
Well, one of the position battles that I feel like that gets overlooked is really the whole offensive line.
Yeah,
you have two anchors in Caden Green and Connor Tollison, of course, the veterans coming back. But what did you kind of make of what you saw at offensive line? I feel like a lot of havoc was wreaked on that offensive line during that scrimmage yesterday.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure, which you know, a real positive for the defense, less positive for the offensive line, and you know, obviously Connor Tollison wasn't playing yesterday, the starting center for the past 3 or 4 years, a really important piece, the glue of that offensive line, really. So that did switch things around. We saw a couple of people that we typically probably wouldn't see in places we wouldn't see them, so give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there. But this is now the most important competition in fall camp for me. You know, I think they have two very competent options at quarterback, but they need to figure out what's going on at right guard, and they need to figure out what's going on, especially at left tackle. I asked Eli Drinkwitz about this. Jathan Richardson, the returner, former junior college player, has been the guy taking all of the reps with the ones in fall camp so far, and he said he's going to make a switch there next week, move over to West Virginia transfer Johnny Williams. We'll see how that goes. When you're betting in a new quarterback, their blindside blocker has to be at the top of his game. They're going to need that with the way that I expect them to run the ball this season. They're going to need somebody dominant on that side of the line. So that has become a little bit of a concern, that they are still flip-flopping there a little bit, that they don't really have an idea of where they want to go exactly at this moment. We'll see how that progresses through fall camp. I think that's a really interesting position now.
Yeah, offensive line going to be one to watch. I was just so impressed with the defensive play yesterday. I feel like from top to bottom, we've been talking about the depth. We really got to see it. Who stood out to you defensively?
Wow. I mean, you could go anywhere with that. I'll start with the linebackers because they held out Josiah Trotter, who I think is going to be a menace this year. He's a really good-looking player. They held him out. Another one of those that I believe was out of pure caution. And Khalil Jacobs. Obviously, he had a season-ending injury midway through last year. He has just really impressed me all through fall camp, and he had such a good read. There were times he knew what the offense was doing before I think they did yesterday. Really just an impressive performance from him. I think he could be a guy that really impresses people this year. I was impressed with the depth at defensive end because they held out Damon Wilson, the Georgia transfer, and Zion Young, the key returner on this defense. And guys like Dayton Hopkins from down the road in Herman had a phenomenal day. He was living in the backfield. So I'm really impressed with how deep their edge rushing positions especially go. And I was surprised by how good the defensive tackles were. They generated pressure without having to send anything off the edge. They were really wreaking havoc up the middle. They were good in the run game. It was a position that I had some questions about because they had to develop some returners there. They had to ask more of the people that they had coming back to step into playing roles. And they looked real good yesterday. I was impressed.
Calum, hard to believe we're already in the home stretch of fall camp here.
I know, yeah.
What are you watching, as we head to this final stretch here?
It's going to be the quarterback competition. I mean, the offensive line you would hope would sort itself out. I think they will settle on someone there sooner rather than later. I think you just for cohesion's sake, I think you have to do that. But at quarterback, I'm looking to see who's going to be the more consistent. I saw things I liked out of both of them yesterday. I liked the way that they ran the offense. I liked the way that they had a grasp of what they're being asked to do, given their strengths and given their limitations. I liked that. Who's going to be the one that takes that step forward? Who's going to be the one that does it on a day-in, day-out basis? Because that's going to determine who, maybe not necessarily against Central Arkansas, but it's going to determine who starts against Kansas. So I think that's the thing that I'm really looking for. It's going to come down to one good day or one bad day at the end of this, because I do like the options that Missouri has there. But I think that could be a really interesting next, I guess, two and a half weeks now. Yeah, it's not far away.
Will be fun to watch. I appreciate you making the time for us, Calum.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after the break.